Okay. If you don't mind, I would like to start with a short lecture. I think it's the best way so you guys can see what we're doing here in terms of Israeli biblical archaeology. And this is also the site that you are most probably going to be digging in. And so I find this opportunity to tell you something about the excavations of Tel Abel Bet Ma'acha, a short lecture that I call a borderline, Bel Bet Ma'acha, a borderline case. You'll see in a minute what I mean. So this is Tel Abel Bet Ma'acha, and I promise I'll give details about the program in a few moments. But bear with me. This is Abel Bet Ma'acha. It's in the very north of Israel. This is the Hula Valley. In the background, you see the Hermon, the city, the northern city of Metula, and this is already Lebanon, here and here and here. And as you can see, Abel Bet Ma'acha is located not far from Damascus. On the other hand, it's quite close to the Phoenician coast, and Chatzor is located only 30 kilometers to the south. How do I know that it's Abel Bet Ma'acha, the biblical Abel Bet Ma'acha? Because until 1948, there was an Arab village here who preserved the name Abel, Abil El Kamech. And of course, we have biblical accounts of campaigns conducted by two kings, one in the 9th century, Ben-Hadad, and the other in the 8th century, Tiglat-Pileser, and both of them mention Abel Bet Ma'acha as part of their campaign, going from Iyon through Abel Bet Ma'acha, Dan, Yanoach, etc. There's another famous story about a wise woman who hosts a rebel that runs away after rebelling against King David. This guy, Sheva ben Bichri, runs away as far as he can and reaches the city, Abel Bet Ma'acha, and he's being chased by Job, the military commander. And then when Job reaches the city, the wise woman comes out of the city, allegedly a very known figure, and she says, why would you ruin a city and a mother? In Israel, this is a place where people ask questions and they get answers, meaning this is a type of a divination center, an important cultic place. And as you can see, Abel Bet Ma'acha, of course, is on the border today, the modern border between Israel and Jordan, but it's also was a border region during the Iron Age. And you can see how Abel Bet Ma'acha is basically located between the Aramean sphere, okay, the Phoenician sphere, and the Israelite kingdom. Now, how much did the Israelite kingdom, how large was it? Did it extend until Abel Bet Ma'acha? Did Abel Bet Ma'acha, was Abel Bet Ma'acha part of the Israelite kingdom? As you can see here, this is quite a new reconstruction done in recent years, but by Israel Finkelstein of Tel Aviv University. And he thinks that during the, of course, he doesn't accept the biblical tradition of the United Kingdom, and actually suggests that the Israelite kingdom was not, was a very small kingdom. It never existed, according to him, during the 10th century, and only during the late 10th century it started to evolve to be expanded by the Omarides during the 9th century, okay, reaching up to Chatzor. You can see that Abel Bet Ma'acha is not even on the map here. It's non-existent. And then only during the days of Jeroboam II, till Abel Bet Ma'acha and till Dan come into the picture. And of course, the cultic precinct at Tel Dan, according to this reconstruction, never existed during the 10th century, as the biblical tradition describes. And so one of the questions that we face in our excavation is whether Abel Bet Ma'acha was part of the Israelite kingdom, and who exactly were the people of Abel Bet Ma'acha? First of all, was there a settlement during the 10th, 9th century, or is it very, very late? And who were the people how did they identify themselves? Which God did they believe in? Were they believers of the God of Israel, or maybe they were Phoenicians? Maybe they belonged to the Aramean sphere. And these are questions that are very difficult to address, especially using archaeology and little texts. And you can see here that some areas of material culture can help us say something about identity. And in this sense, we could be looking at cuisine. As you know, there is all the aspect of pigs and eating pigs, the big restriction. We can look at burial customs. Burial is something that really identifies an individual. We can look at the cultic practices and maybe the language, perhaps other aspects. Today, I want to just mention briefly two aspects: cult and language. So this is the excavation areas. On top of the Tell, we are excavating around the remains of the Arab village. And you can see here one of our major areas on the Tell, area B. And first of all, this big structure, monumental structure, a huge citadel, is dated according to our finds to the 10th century. So I think first question is answered. We have a settlement on the site during the 10th century. And this citadel yielded numerous finds, a lot of them related to the Phoenician sphere of influence, which means, I don't know, tight connections with the Phoenicians, maybe more than contacts, cultural contacts, what exactly? And you can see a Phoenician boat on a pendant here, and this unique faience figurine of a male, a bearded male, and this vessel, which is certainly Phoenician, we have checked. We also have remains in area A. We were just at area B, we're going to area A, and you can see here a whole sequence. Of course, I don't expect you to understand all of this, but we have Iron Age remains, early Iron Age remains, and then we have a beautiful building here in red that was built during the 11th century and then destroyed in a heavy conflagration. And on top of this building, what you see here in blue is contemporary with our citadel. So we have additional remains dating to the 10th, 9th century. And what I want you to look at is this stone floor. These are a lot of taboons and a kiln found in this stratum, but I want you to focus on this little circle on the stone floor. And you can see here, we used to have a bulk, meaning an earth partition running through this floor. And we started noticing that this partition was kind of weeping, crying, instead of tears, little bones, animal bones, actually knuckle bones. And you can see here that we decided to dig this partition, this bulk, and we found this, which is an absolutely amazing, very simple vessel, but it contained a lot of these bones. In fact, 406 bones, animal knuckle bones. Totally extraordinary. And you can see there were no pigs, there were no cows, mainly sheep, goat, and a little bit of deer. But what are these? What are they used for? So we know this very clearly. We don't even have to go back to archaeology. We just need to look at traditional societies today that are still using knuckle bones for many, many uses that are kind of always on the edge of cult, either for divination or as apotropaic objects, or for gambling, which is also somewhat cultic. You can see here, this is from Africa, but I could show you a similar picture from Siberia and from Armenia and from Netivot in Israel, where people are using these stones, these bones, to do some kind of a game / practice. And you can see that these bones were mimicked in other materials. And in the Greek culture, they were inscribed with the name of deities and found in temples. And they were treated in several ways. And when we finished excavating this bulk, this partition, we basically landed on a small bama, on a high place, surrounded with stones. And on top of this stone was the vessel. So this is some kind of a ceremony. Something happened here. People collected these bones, placed them in a vessel, put them on it's not a very high stage, but it's elevated. What is this? What were they doing? How can we find out? So the first thing that we decided to do was to look at the bones themselves and to see whether this was kind of a one event, 406 astragali, each animal has 2 of them, divide by 2. So that's like 203 sheep slaughtered in one event. No, that's not what happened. How do we know? We looked under the microscope, we made several analyses, and we found out that each and every one of this bone has its own biography. They've been treated, they've been polished and cut and perforated and filled with metal, et cetera, et cetera. And we finally understood that we don't know for how long they were collected, whether over a long while or a short while, but they were collected for something very specific. And all we know is that whatever they did there, whatever ceremony they did, it ended up in them leaving, and the entire stratum, the entire settlement is deserted. So this is the story, and of course it kind of pushes us back to the words of the wise woman, which we don't really know when they were written down and what they refer to, whether they should be taken as historical reality or as some kind of a grain of truth, but still there is a tradition that people come to Abel for divination. But if I come back to my original question, does that help us identify the people? Not so much. Why? Because we do have collections of astragali in many Israelite cities, like Megiddo, like Ta'anach. But we also have practices using astragali in other cultures of the Near East. So let's go to something else. Language. So this is another area, area K. You see, we went from B to A to K, and now we're looking at some kind of a storehouse with jars that were found here. And what you can see here is that one of the jars, after it was restored by our conservatorist, I don't remember how to say that, Adrienne Ganor, she basically told us, you have to come and see something. Okay, not the handle. That's a very nice handle, but that's not the point. There was an inscription on the jar, and the inscription read, you can't read this, Le Benayo. Le Benayo is a very interesting inscription. Why? Because it's written, according to Chris Rolston, our epigrapher, it's written in Hebrew letters, not Aramaic, not Phoenician, Hebrew letters. And the ending is a theophoric ending with the name of the God of Israel, Yahu. And the ending Yo instead of Yahu is an Israelite ending. So we have someone, Bana is built, okay? So we have someone here whose name is Benayo. He's a believer in the God of Israel, and it's inscribed in Hebrew. And of course, it goes on, and I don't have time to elaborate, but this jar was found to have been made locally. It wasn't imported from anywhere. So it was inscribed at Abel Bet Macha, and this is already the beginning of perhaps understanding some of the identities that were in this settlement. So we continued excavating this beautiful context. You see here, we're already getting the picture of how this storehouse looked. And in the past season, we found 30 additional jars in situ, in place, and you can see them up close. And we've already extracted all of these and we've washed them, and we found no more inscriptions. All right, so that's it. Let me tell you something about our program. The program is called Archaeology in the Ancient Near East. And as you saw, we are basically, the approach that we have in our program is from what we call the ground up. We look at the archaeological materials and try to reconstruct the history, the society, the economy. We do use the biblical tradition, but we don't aim at proving anything. We're not using the biblical tradition to guide us from the ground up, from the archaeological excavations, from the finds. The program includes 2 tracks, an unresearched track and a research track. It is possible, and we have decreased the number of credits from the past year because it was very, very intensive. We decreased it from 40 to 36. Still, it is doable during a single year, but you will hear from Richard that many of the students decided to extend to 2 years because it is very, also it's very intensive, but also they want to do the research track. And so this is what we are looking at minimum. The minimum is 2 semesters and a 3-week excavation, and the maximum is 2 years. You can see here some examples of courses. We look in the program at Bronze Age city-states, Iron Age kingdoms. We study or discuss the interaction between what we call text and spade. For example, in the coming year, we will have Dr. Joe Uziel, who is an excavator from the Israel Antiquities Authority, who has been excavating in Jerusalem for years, going to give the seminar on Jerusalem and Judah. We have a course which looks at archaeological sciences, and you will be able to go into labs and conduct your own project. Ancient pottery will be a truly hands-on course where you sit in the collection room, and we have a wonderful collection room, and you go over the pottery of ancient Israel. We look at Canaanite cult, also Iron Age cult. We will have a course next year on the Persian period, a course on the Negev, Edom, and the Araba in the Iron Age, etc. We have more additional courses. This is just preliminary list. We have an option to take ancient languages, though I must say that if you are going for the research track, we will not count these as part of your program. What else do we offer? We offer study tours. We go on archaeological sites and museums. We have excavations. Hopefully this year, because I don't know if the COVID allowed us this year to go on surveys, but next year we will try and do that. So excavations and surveys. We have study collections, an amazing collection room of pottery, but also other collections of metals and other small finds. And each excavation, each expedition has its own collections. We have analytic laboratories. Personally, I am an archaeologist, but also an archaeometallurgist, and I have a laboratory for archaeological materials and ancient technologies. My colleagues have different laboratories like GIS, Geographic Information Systems, and other labs. We have a conservation lab. We have possibility of doing internship. We have a great library, and I can go on and on. This is just to get a glimpse of some of the faces that you'll be looking at if you join us next year. Some of them are professors that are retired. Some of them, most of them are active. Some of them are doctors, but specialists in their own terms. Again, Nava Panitskoin is a pottery specialist. Matt Sasnow is an expert in ancient cult. Professor Yossi Garfinkel will be on sabbatical next year, but if you stay with us to the year after, you'll probably be coming back and teaching. Professor Arlette David is an Egyptologist. Uri Davidovich deals with the earlier periods of the Bronze Age, as well as cave surveys and excavations. This is myself. Professor Ilan Sharon is retired, but teaches wonderful courses on Phoenician archaeology, as well as the Persian period the next year. Josie L. I mentioned. Igor Kremerman teaches archaeological method and theory, as well as Iron Age kingdoms, instead of Professor Yossi Garfinkel next year. Wayne Horowitz is a wonderful Assyriologist. And so you see, we have more and more. I will let Anna say something now.
Okay, hello everyone. First of all, this was Professor Nama Yalomak. She's the head of the program. This is your program. This is actually the presentation which you're going to do. I would like to, I'm Anna Krakowski. I'm the admission coordinator and also teaching and student affairs assistant. And I would like now ask another person to talk to you and show you this entire study process from another side. And this is our current student currently attending the program, and it's Richard Leverens. Richard, please unmute, and the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Anna. Yeah, my name is Richard Leverens, and I'm from Los Angeles, California. I started the program in the Archeology of the Land of the Bible just this past October, so I'm brand new. Finished a semester, about to enter my second semester. And I was right where you guys were. Just several months ago, in June of 2021, I was sitting in a Zoom meeting, an open class, open day Zoom meeting, and listened to Nama's presentation on Abel Bet Macha, and I thought, oh, this is my program. And I went through the application process, and I've got to say it was really a very smooth process for me. The information came very quickly. The information was there, which is really important if you're thinking about moving your life from halfway around the world to Israel, to know that you've got an organization that is serious about you and shows respect for you, to give you the information on time, and the application process and everything went so smoothly. That gave me really a lot of confidence in the program. And of course, as you heard earlier, there's a great support through the Office of Student Life. Now, obviously, I'm a bit of an older student. This is like a second course of study for me, a second career. My background is in Bible and theology, and I have a couple of degrees in Bible and theology, and for 25 years, I taught Bible in various contexts. And I was kind of an armchair archaeologist. You know, I read an article here and there that I thought would help me in my studies, but I was always a little bit frustrated with that. And I really wanted to bring some context to my study of the Bible, get the context of the material culture of the time of the Bible, of the context of the different peoples that lived around Israel at the time that the Bible is written. And so when I found out about this program, and it's a brand new program, I got so excited. And I looked at other programs in Israel. I looked at some of the other programs that are available, excellent schools, excellent programs, but this one really was right on exactly what I wanted, to bring context to my understanding of the Bible and to give me a background both in theory as well as in practice, really get my hands dirty and get into the dirt and to be able to dig and to excavate. So I was really excited when this all came together. And I said, as an older student, but there are other students my age also in our class. We have students from around the world. We've got China, Hong Kong, Canada, US, UK, Europe, and Thailand. We've got different students, and it's a great camaraderie in the classroom as well, working with these other students as we go through the process. Let me try to make the case just for a second on Hebrew University, because as I said, I looked at other universities and looked at other programs, and they had excellent programs, but it's an amazing privilege to be able to live and to study in the city of Jerusalem. I can't emphasize that enough. I actually live off campus. I live in the old city of Jerusalem. And when I leave my apartment in the morning, I'm stepping into history and I'm stepping into archaeology. Every day for me is like a challenge, and I'm being taught. everywhere you go, and that's not just the old city of Jerusalem, that's all over Jerusalem. Wherever you go, you are in an amazing environment, which is the capital of archaeology, of biblical archaeology. Jerusalem itself is a fantastic city. It's a fascinating city religiously. It's a beautiful city to be a part of. The culture here is amazing. And so being able to study biblical archaeology right in the heart of the biblical story is absolutely fantastic. And I can't imagine doing it anywhere else in Israel. The other thing is too, the professors that we've had have been absolutely fantastic. You got a little bit of a taste of it with Naama's presentation on Abel Bet Mecha, but you are hearing from the top names in archaeology in Israel, and we're studying under these names at the university. It is such a blessing and such an amazing privilege to be able to do that. I do have to tell you that the course load is rigorous. It is tough. And but if you are looking at a master's program, then you're already serious about your academics. And so I wouldn't want it any other way, honestly. It has been challenging. It has pushed me beyond my comfort zones, and to really be able to deal with the amount of information has been tough. But it's been really fascinating to me. And the things that I'm learning are just tremendous. So the quality of the teaching is fantastic, and the challenge of the program is really fantastic. And so I would really encourage you to seriously consider this program, because it will give you such a great understanding of biblical history. And I guess I also, in terms of thinking about the Hebrew University as a place to study biblical archaeology, I can't think of a better place to do that. And I say that because of their philosophy. They have tremendous respect for the Bible, but they deal with the Bible in a very fair and honest way in dealing with the Bible and archaeological evidence. And so I find that really encouraging, and have been really blessed by that entire process. So I'd really strongly encourage you to consider this program. I think it will change your life in very serious ways, and it will certainly push you to understand the importance of archaeology to biblical studies.
Thank you so much, Richard. I will now talk about the admission process and more administrative stuff, and then we will leave time for questions if you have any. We're not too many people. I think we will be able to do it like a free question, whoever has. If you think you can also post questions in chat, and I will read them out if you prefer this way. So it's up to you. Okay, so now we will talk about a little bit about the admission process and how it works.
Until Anna opens her presentation, I'm going to say thank you to Richard. It's been lovely to hear what you have to say. And also I would say, I want to say to each and every one of you that I am happy to Zoom with you personally, to see your personal situation and your personal interests, and we could do that. I think it's the best way. I've been Zooming with people, and I'm happy to do it. Even if you're not even, you don't even know how serious you can be about this, or you're maybe thinking about a year ahead, please contact me, Zoom with me. Let's talk and see how we can help you get your mindset.
Okay, so we're going to the administrative part. The first question that everybody, of course, asks, and it's a very important question, is how much does this cost? The tuition of the program, of the one-year program, is $11,400. And there's also another additional mandatory cost for the mandatory archaeological excavation. Scholarships are available. Unfortunately, the vast majority of them do not cover the entire tuition, but we do our best to support and help as much as we can for the financial part of the thing. How do you apply? You apply through our website, through the application system. And in order to be eligible for the program, you need a bachelor degree, at least a bachelor degree from the accredited university with a minimum GPA as listed on the slide. We do need English if the language of studies at your university is not English, it's other than English. So we will need you to submit the TOEFL exam results or IELTS. And we also ask some additional documents, which are your curriculum vitae, statement of purpose, and 2 academic recommendations. And the application is open till March 31st, but it's definitely will not stop there. We will continue to accept people if we still have places available. It's going to be based on availability till August 31st. As you all heard Aidan in the as you heard Aidan, who was presenting you also the Office of Student Life, we have a very active and very helpful Office of Student Life. You will never be alone. It's definitely majority of students are concentrating on the student life, on the academic life, but it doesn't mean that they should not have any other aspect to their life. And if you have any trouble, problem, or just want to share things that you just experienced and you want to talk to someone, they are always there and we are always there if you need us. And I think Jane also mentioned the on-campus housing, which is available. It's based on availability. We have a lot, but still limited number of spots available. It's not endless. And wait. And I think we can go now to question and answers, because like generally the admission process is fairly simple, but definitely each one of you might have like questions on specific issue or a matter you want to discuss or ask. So you're definitely welcome now to ask if you have something. Whoever wants to ask.
Okay, I'll say that I get asked often whether we accept students with no background. And so the answer to this is that we we give preference to students with some background, whether in Near East or archaeology or any other related subject. But if you don't have any background and you're very passionate, please apply, talk to me, write to us, tell us why you want to enroll, and we will discuss this. Yes, Corey.
Hi, thank you guys for answering our questions and for having us. My question, I suppose, is as far as Hebrew background in the language speaking, are the classes in English or Hebrew? I know you talked about the TOEFL. Can you
No, it's the answer is very easy, Corey.
Okay.
The program is in English. We do not require Hebrew for this particular program. Of course, if you take Bible and Ancient Near East, you need Hebrew. Yes. But for archaeology and Ancient Near East, we do not require Hebrew. You can, if you want, you can kind of manage to have Hebrew studies. But this is not required. It's just impossible to get all the workload and Hebrew. And you can do it if you come a little earlier and you kind of, you know, manage your studies. You can study Hebrew, but you don't have to study Hebrew.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Don't be shy.
Anyone else want to ask something? Have some other things you want to know?
I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, I guess, generally about some of the things you have going on in your labs right now, and maybe some of the most exciting things that have been happening in your labs recently?
So when I presented the Astragali hoard, that was an example of the type of work that we do. But I have a lot of projects that relate to archaeometallurgy. I just published a study of lead ingots from the Caesarea Bay that showed that Cypriots were going off to Sardinia to bring lead, and they were trading it throughout the Mediterranean. We have research that deals with plaster, with ceramics, ceramic technology, all sorts of analyses. Personally, I deal with, my expertise is the provenance studies, looking at where raw materials come from. And this is something that I do partially in my lab here, but mostly in the other campus in Givat Ram, where I have bigger, more heavier guns, heavier machines that can analyze isotopes as well as detailed chemical composition. So we have that going, it's getting stronger and stronger in archaeology, the scientific aspect, the natural science aspect, and definitely we have a lot of prospect in that direction.
Cool, thank you.
I'll just tell you, if there aren't any questions. So you get a little bit envious of Richard and myself. We're going out to the field next week. We're hoping that the sun will shine just for 1 week, but kind of to get, a week start on the summer excavation. And we're so much looking forward to this. So this is the type of fun stuff that we get to do during the year. Of course, the summer excavation is a wonderful experience. It's we dig for 4 weeks, the students join us for 3, and you study everything that you need to know about field archaeology in terms of measurements and section drawings and registration, etc. So this is also something to look forward to. Yes, Saulo. Saulo.
Hello, good afternoon from Brazil, Professor.
Good afternoon.
I would like to know, I don't know if you can see me.
We can see you.
Thank you so much, because I'm just seeing you. I'm in this. You straightly on the chat, but I am here developing Brazil translation research. I am more straight to the sign languages because I'm a sign language translation and interpreting researcher. But I was in doubt where to try to apply there in Hebrew University, because I am more connected to Bible translation project. So we are researching here how to develop with names and for the terms that they are not existing yet in sign language, but they are present in the Bible. So terms for the mounds, for the items, for the idols, for the pottery, for everything. And I would like to know that how the program deals with the interdisciplinary projects. If you receive this, welcome. If you are welcome this, okay, it's okay for you to welcome this kind of projects. And if once we are there, for us from sign languages to go to the sites, it's very important to see what we have, the objects precisely, not only described by the texts, but seeing visually for help them, the deaf translators, to create the sign names. So we are creating anthroponic names and topological names for the places, for the people, for the stuffs. And right now in Brazil, we are having this kind of absence, like this wall, this Hyatt, very difficult here. So
Saulo, your question is very specific. So I suggest that we make a Zoom date and discuss it further, because I have to understand better what you're asking me. But of course, if you want to get a hands-on experience and to see things from firsthand, then you're in the right place. If you're looking more for biblical studies, that's the other program, Bible and Ancient Near East. And I hope I answered that question.
okay, I think I would like to Zoom with you. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Write me an email. And remember that next week we're in the field. So I'll try to get you this week, but it might take some time.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Okay, guys, we still have 4 more minutes, and we're really happy if you have further questions you want to ask.
Maybe I can ask you really quickly what your background is. Hannah, what is your background?
Hi, my name is Hannah. I studied history as an undergraduate many years ago. Wanted to go into archaeology, but instead went into medicine. So I'm a physician. I am board certified in emergency medicine and family practice. And
we would love to have you on the TEL.
I would love to move back into my first love, which is history and archaeology. And so I am looking at this program as possibly my way of getting back to people who lived in the past, not
Great.
people who live today. So, but I'm
Wonderful.
very interested in the scientific aspect still of archaeology and the composition of materials, and that all is very exciting for me.
Okay, great. Hannah, the other Hannah. Be short. We have 3 minutes.
Sure. My BA is in international relations and human rights. So not related, but I have some brief field experience here in Israel, actually.
Where?
I was at Tel Shimron in 2017.
Okay, great. What about Corey East?
Hi, yes, ma'am. I have a background in liberal arts classical studies, so a concentration on more of the like Greek Roman kind of period, but I've always loved archaeology, and kind of like the first Hannah, originally wanted to go into an archaeology program, but didn't have the funds nor the ability to do so, and I'd love to study in Israel. That's my dream.
Wow, great. What about Joel?
My undergraduate's in computer science. I'm a software engineer by background, but I have a master's degree in Old Testament from a seminary in the US, and have always had an interest in archaeology.
Wonderful. Now, other people, I don't see your faces, so I'm going to ask, I don't know, Joseph, are you with us?
Oh yes, I'm a graduate in Masters in Divinity, because archaeology can help me to understand more about the Bible and the background. So I'm interested in knowing more. Can you hear?
Yes, we hear you. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's why I'm joining this virtual open day session.
Okay, we have exactly 20 seconds. Very thankful that you came here and were with us and asked questions and were interested in this program. And I really hope to see you next year in Jerusalem, like next academic year in Jerusalem. And thank you so much for joining us, because we're going to be thrown to the main room in a second.
Thank you.
Joel,
Thank you
which
so
seminary?
much.
Joel? Is Joel gone?
I think it just froze us in a few seconds to the main room. Thank you so much, guys. You can go back to the main room. We will have some sort of sum up of everything in the chat. If you could scroll just a second up, we have our email and the website and the application site. So you're welcome to contact us. We can set up personal meetings in Zoom if you want more information. If you have an academic questions, that's Naama. If you have more administrative questions, that's Amy, my colleague who's dealing with this program, and it's her email you see in the chat, okay? So thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for being here, and have a nice day, and hope to see you soon.